All right, we'll start in about 5 minutes. Please start finding your seats. We'll start in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to introduce Hillary. I'm going to introduce Hillary.
Okay.
So I'll do the first line and introduce her, and then I'll start and introduce myself. Yeah, that works? Okay.
Check, check. All right, we're ready to get started. All right, please take your seats. All right. Good evening, and welcome to the Minneapolis City Council Ward 10 Forum. I am going to introduce Hillary Odie, who is a representative of Queermunity, to do an introduction.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Hi. I'm Hillary Odie. I'm one of the co-founders of Queermunity, which is the space that you're in tonight. We're so grateful you're here. Yeah. Thank you for being here. We're so excited to be your neighbors. We've been here for 10 months only, and we're looking forward to more time here in the community. We open Queermunity for everyone, but centering the needs and celebrating LGBTQ plus and BIPOC folks here every day. So that's what we're here for. And please come in and celebrate with us and enjoy our space anytime. Everyone's welcome. We have the cafe open all day, every day. Lots of programs in the evenings and weekends. And we look forward to seeing you back. So thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Hillary. Well, my name is Whitney Larson, and I'm your moderator this evening. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, but not a resident of Ward 10. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan volunteer organization with a long history of providing unbiased candidate and issue information that is widely used by voters, regardless of their political beliefs. This forum is co-sponsored by Whittier Alliance, South Uptown Neighborhood, East Bidemakaska Neighborhood Association, the Wedge Neighborhood, IATA Leads, Queermunity, and the League of Women Voters, Minneapolis. The views expressed are those of the candidates and not those of the League or the co-sponsors. Neither the League of Women Voters nor its co-sponsors endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. We are holding this forum for voters to hear from the candidates and to compare their ideas. This forum is being held in front of a live audience at Queermunity and is being live streamed to the League of Women Voters Minneapolis' YouTube channel. We thank Queermunity for the generous donation of this space for the forum. This is a forum, not a debate. Candidates are asked questions to which they will respond directly to the audience and not to each other. The three candidates have agreed to this evening's format. The recording of this forum will be available in its entirety after the forum and will have a closed caption option available in multiple languages. Thank you to MCN6 for the production and recording of this event. We ask that campaign buttons or campaign t-shirts not be worn in this room and that no signs or literature be distributed during this event. Please remain as quiet as possible while the candidates are speaking so that everyone can hear the discussion. We also would ask that you hold your applause until the end of the forum so that candidates will have the maximum time to respond to your questions. Finally, please silence all electronic devices. We have the assistance of Spanish and Somali translators tonight. Jesus Cazares Reyes with the yellow name tag, and Fartun Ismail with the green name tag. They are to the right of this space and will also be available during the meet and greet to help you engage with the candidates. Ward 10 is located in central Minneapolis and is a vibrant place to live, work, and play. Ward 10 has great neighborhoods, unique shops, and excellent restaurants, theaters, and music venues. All candidates on the ballot were invited to the forum, and all three are here with us this evening. They are, in alphabetical order, Aisha Choktai, DeShannon Grimes, and Lydia Millard. We thank the candidates in advance for engaging in a respectful and civil discourse. Thank you for being here tonight. We have timekeepers sitting in the front row so that each candidate has the same amount of time to respond to the questions. They're right here. Following the opening statements of 1.5 minutes, Each candidate will have up to 1.5 minutes to answer each question, and then 1 minute to make a closing statement. The timekeeper will hold up a card when there are 30 seconds remaining, then 15 seconds remaining, and a stop card when the time is up. We ask that the candidate then finish their sentence and stop at that point. We expect this forum to last approximately 75 minutes. Questions are based on community concerns and were developed by our committee, submitted in advance from co-sponsor surveys, and solicited from the community at large. During the forum, we will take written questions from the audience until 30 minutes before the end of the forum at 7:45 p.m. Please note that this is a change from the time in the program due to the large number of questions we have already received that needed to be incorporated. A volunteer will gather the questions and hand them to our question facilitators and then to myself, the moderator. We ask that the questions be clear, pertinent to the issues at hand, within the scope of the office, and made in the form of a question, not a statement. All questions are carefully reviewed and rewritten when necessary to make sure that they are directed to all candidates, forward-looking, not biased, and not of a personal nature. We look for a balance of topics that affect all of us, both locally and in the city as a whole. To get to as many topics as possible, we will limit the number of questions in each category, and we may consolidate questions of the same general topic. If you feel your question was not addressed, please follow up with the candidates after the forum. Finally, all submitted questions are the property of the League of Women Voters Minneapolis. And now it's time to let the candidates introduce themselves to you. For each candidate's opening statement, we ask that they address the question, why are you running, and what are your qualifications? Each candidate will have up to 1.5 minutes to respond. It was determined by drawing numbers that the first candidate to speak is candidate Chugtai. They actually drew in alphabetical order. It worked out really well, so that's easy. And then the order will rotate randomly. So, thank you. Candidate Chugtai.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. It is really wonderful to see so many people showing up to engage in our local democracy. My name is Aisha Chugtai, and if we haven't met yet, my pronouns are she, her. I am a renter. I live in the Whittier neighborhood. I come to local government from the labor movement and the immigrants' rights movement, and I am the eldest daughter to a Muslim immigrant family. For the last 4 years, I've had the privilege of representing my community, Ward 10 on the Minneapolis City Council. Ward 10 includes the Whittier, Lowry Hill East, South Uptown, East Bede-Makaska, and a little bit of East Isles south of Lagoon Avenue. For the last 2 years, I've also had the privilege of serving as the vice president of the Minneapolis City Council. And I know that there's a lot of narrative about the work of the City Council and deadlock at City Hall, and a lot of misconstruing of our community's values and my record. But I want you to know that this City Council has been the most productive in recent history, passing more legislation on your behalf, and I'm proud to have led on the work to keep renters in their homes and in the communities they love, to expand access to education for every single worker, and to increase taxes and fees on the largest polluters to build resilience to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes.
Oh, yes. Hi, my name is Shannon Grimes. You can just call me Shannon, that's fine. I decided to run for city council. I was asked about maybe 15 years ago to run for city council from one of the restaurant owners here in Uptown called Moira Victoria. And I told him at that time I wasn't ready to run for city council because I didn't feel as I was ready to be in a public forum or anything like that. Because I just moved here from Milwaukee in 2003. But as years passed by, I got to know the city a lot more, and it, like I said, became my home. I've been here now as a renter. I live in Uptown. I have lived in Uptown for 25 years. I work in Uptown. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a realtor, and I also own a small cleaning business, and I do it all here from right here from my home. I decided, I'm qualified to work or to run for city council because of my career. I was the first I was the youngest person to ever rise the ranks in Saks Fifth Avenue, and that's how I actually became, that's how I ended up kind of transferring myself into Minneapolis. I was the youngest person to be in a management position, and I just kind of worked myself up, and I worked for leadership in companies like Lumen, CenturyLink, and also a company out of Germany where I ran large corporations and did large budgets. And I'm just a pillar of my community. I'm out in my community every single day, and I know what's going on, and I think I'm an advocate for my community because I believe and I understand what the businesses are going through because I live it and I see it every single day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Candidate Millard.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Lydia Millard, and I grew up in the north side of Minneapolis, so Minneapolis is home for me. I came to Uptown as a kid because I love the lakes, I love the restaurants, and when I got old enough, I moved to this area, and I've been living in Ward 10 for the past 5.5 years. I absolutely love my neighborhood. And I feel like at this point, our neighborhood needs to bring back the vibrancy. We have seen a lot of the restaurants close, businesses close, and I believe that we are looking for stronger leadership. I'm currently the executive director for Stevens Square Community Organization, and I also have experience in large-scale operations with budgeting, as well as putting projects together from start to finish, collaborating and working with individual partners, as well as understanding that the demographic we're in right now is caused by 3 things. Public safety is not being prioritized in our neighborhood, the support of our small businesses and lack of small businesses in this neighborhood, as well as the basic job and function of a city council representative, which is constituent services. And so I'm looking to run to bring those things to the ward, but also understanding that that is my vision for this ward. We deserve to have a neighborhood that is safe, that is thriving, and that is vibrant. And I am the candidate to not only do the job, but I can do the job better. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move to questions from the live audience and those submitted in advance. Candidates will have up to 1.5 minutes to answer the questions. And we will begin this series with Candidate Millard. The first question is, as part of the city's policymaking and legislative body, how will you work together with other city council members and the mayor to improve the entire city? Please share examples of when you've worked with people you disagree with to find solutions for the common good. Candidate Millard?
Thank you for that question. Currently in my work with Stevens Square Community Organization, I have to work with residents, business owners, and property owners to be advocates for the community. And we are the liaison to City Council as well as the mayor. And when we disagree, we actually figure out where's the common ground. What process could we put in place to actually make some progress now? So we may have a plan that may not work 100%, but if we can get 70% of that plan accomplished, that is progress. And then we can take back that 30% and actually look at where we can improve and take that 30% back and say, how can we move the needle just a little bit more? And so when you're working with people of different diverse, that is actually my strong suit. I am a balanced leader, and I pride myself on being a balanced leader. We have people with more things that have in common than we have that divides us, and that balanced leadership is needed right now between City Council and the mayor. And I am not running in alignment with the mayor right now because I want to be able to challenge the mayor, and I also want to be able to advocate for the ward and exactly what we need for this neighborhood without any issues or any complications.
Thank you. Candidate Choktai, you are next.
Thank you. Disagreement is a hallmark of the precious democracy that we live in, and I would say from my experience at City Hall, if you can get even 10% of what you want in a given policy, that's a massive win. There's been a lot of disagreement between myself and the mayor over issues that the people of Ward 10, the voters of Ward 10, sent me to City Hall to fight for. The mayor has had more vetoes of the city council than any other in the city's history, more than the last 2 combined alone. And that has included vetoing things that you sent me and told me time and time again were important to you to fight for, like taxing polluters and preserving affordable housing. I will work with the mayor, no matter who they are and what they believe in, at every opportunity to deliver for the residents that I have the privilege of serving. I will also oppose the mayor, no matter who they are, if necessary, to ensure that I deliver for you. My entire governing principle centers on working with whoever possible and overcoming any opposition so you get what you need to live a life where you have everything you need, not just to survive, but to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes.
Thank you. I feel the same as Aisha. Whoever is chosen to be our mayor for this term, I will work with him. Work with him. I do have my issues with Mayor Fry, but that's not something that I can't work out. So I believe that we have to work together as a community, as one, as a city, as a state. We can't run our city anymore the way it's been running separately. Like right now, our country is facing a major divide, and we have to look within ourselves and our community in order to make this city thrive and this ward thrive. Like I said, I lived here for 25 years, and I have seen what this community can be. I've seen where it was. I know where it can be again, and we have to work together on that. And if I run into an issue with whoever the mayor might be, be it Fry or whomever, we just have to work together. Of course, I'm going to use my voice because I'm going to be running for the people. I'm not running for myself. I'm not running for any special groups. I'm running for myself and for the people in my neighborhood and the community and the business people that I have spoken to when I started to do this campaign. So yes, of course, I think the main thing is we all have to work together as one in order to get our city back to where it was vibrant. We'll get Uptown to back where it was vibrant, entertainment, more programs, more events that we used to. And again, we have to work with our community leaders, like our MPD. We have to build that relationship over again, and have to work with also crime groups to make sure they're back walking our streets like they used to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question was submitted from the live audience, and it is, how will you involve diverse communities and their leadership in your decision-making processes and ensure that all residents have a voice? Candidate Grimes, you are first this time.
Awesome. That's a great question. Thank you for that. I, as a person of color myself, obviously, I believe that we live in, like I said before, we live in a diverse community, and we have to listen to every person that lives in this community. When I was out getting my votes or my signatures for to be on the ballot, I was talking to business owners. I was standing in a corner in front of all these talking to different people. And we have to understand that this is a community, like I said, of indigenous people, black people, working class, lower class. There's so many different diversities and so many different culture groups in this community. We have to listen to all their voices, because right now, if we're not listening to all those voices, and those people that aren't being listened to are being left behind, that's where our word is right now today. That's where our word is right now today, because we have overlook certain people, certain communities, and that's just not where I see myself taking this community. And if I am elected, I believe that all people in this community, whether you be gay, lesbian, black, or white, you all have a voice and you all should be heard. And when I say heard, that means when you bring something to me, it's going to be heard, it's going to be acknowledged, and it will be addressed, and it will be known to how you feel, basically.
Thank you. Candidate Millard, you are next.
We have been lacking the ability to reach out and get a response from our current council person. That is the number one job of a city council representative. And we have a diverse group of people here, and it is not about attending to your fan base. It is about attending to every single resident that lives in this neighborhood who pays taxes. And at the end of the day, if we cannot understand that is the number one job of the person that you put into this seat, then we are not understanding what we're voting for. I am here to not only listen, but I am here to execute. We have been missing out on so much in this neighborhood because we have not had a person that's present. We have not had a person who listens. We have not had a person who gets back to you and responds. Anyone in this room, if you've ever reached out to me and I've responded back to you, raise your hand. Can we say the same about our current person in office? We cannot. If we can say that about the current person in the office, the two of us wouldn't be sitting here. You would be running unopposed. So I believe that we not only need to have better services when it comes to getting back to your concerns and understanding that everyone's opinion and everyone has a say at the table is so much more important to bring together community, that we need to actually not only say it, but we need to actually follow up and execute on it. And I will be that person to do that for you.
Thank you. Candidate Chapter.
It has been a privilege to represent the over 33,000 people who live in Ward 10. It's home to some of the city's most vital commercial corridors and the working class people who are struggling to make ends meet. This is an 80% renter community. It is home to the state's largest cultural mall and the state's best transit infrastructure. It's home to the city's wealthiest and poorest residents. I believe that our local government should be the first line of service and the last line of defense for every single one of those residents, prioritized by need and not access or income. That's why I'm proud that my office spends 40 hours or more every week, every single one, responding to constituents and community stakeholders. My office meets twice per month with the leaders of neighborhood associations across the ward. We host feedback sessions with stakeholders on every issue, from reproductive rights to the city budget, and I'm proud of how engaged our residents are across Ward 10. We have some of the highest rates of outreach to 311 and our council office, and since I've been elected, I have dramatically increased response time and case closure rates for our residents. These last 3 years have taught me real lessons and experience in how to help people navigate the city's complex bureaucracy and red tape and ensure that constituent concerns are addressed. And if re-elected, I'm excited to continue that work with you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the live audience. How are you financing your campaign? Are there any expectations associated with these campaign donations if you are elected to office? Candidate Chugtai, you are first this time.
Yeah, I am incredibly proud that every single campaign I have run has been funded by small community-centered contributions. I don't take money from developers, I don't take money from corporate PACs, and I don't take money from energy lobbyists. My opponent, on the other hand, has taken money from the worst slumlords in the city, from McDonald's franchise owners across the country, and from MAGA Trump donors. 20% of my opponent's campaign is funded by Republicans. I'm proud that my fundraising reflects that my priority is you and you alone, and that I will be held accountable to you, unlike my opponent who seems eager to be deep in the pockets of MAGA Republicans.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes, you are next.
Yes. When I decided to run for city council, my decision and my campaign is funded by my friends, my family, and people in this community. I don't belong to a PAC. I don't belong to any group that's sponsoring my campaign. So everything that I do for my campaign, it comes out of my friend's pocket and out of my own pocket, to say the most. And I don't believe that we need someone in city council who is, like I should just spoke about, who is sponsored by slumlords. We don't need that, because then you're telling me that you're not gonna be able to help the renters in this community, because that's the number one problem in our Uptown community right now is housing. So if we have 752 evictions this year, that's just too much. So I just think that when you're running for city council, it's okay if you have money coming from somewhere, but when you have money coming from places that I feel that it shouldn't come from, I would never take money from a landlord, a slumlord, because I have lived in one of his buildings, and I tell you this, it wasn't the best place to live. I'm so glad that I put myself out of that situation. So like I said before, my campaign is funded by just sheer community power, friends, and family.
Thank you. Candidate Millard.
I cannot be bought. There is no reason that anyone living in this neighborhood, regardless of their political affiliation, doesn't have a stake in this neighborhood. Just because you are a different political affiliation does not mean that you don't have the same services and dues as everyone else. In this community, we understand that we work together, and we have not been working together. If we want to see a community thrive, that means everyone has a seat at the table. And therefore, that means anyone who goes to my donation page, I don't know their political affiliation. It is no different than buying a shirt on Amazon. You don't know what their job is, you don't know what their political affiliation is, but they understand that we are at a fork in the road. We cannot afford another 4 years with the same current incumbent in office. And they are willing to put in to make sure that we get this incumbent out of office. And if no one understands that everyone in this neighborhood deserves services regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of what they own, then you don't understand your community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next question has been submitted from the live audience. You're all doing a really great job submitting questions. I'm just swapping them out as we go, so this is great. What does community safety mean to you, and how would you specifically address crime in Ward 10? Candidate Millard, you are first this time.
Public safety in this neighborhood has been completely abandoned. We do not have any type of safety in this neighborhood. That is everything from the crime, gun violence. Whittier has become the #1 place of gun violence in the entire city. We also do not have a plan for the homeless encampments. Our current council is a part of the city council who thinks sweeping encampments without people being able to gather their belongings, without understanding that we need compassion and empathy towards these people. Our unhoused neighbors really have to understand that we need more transitional housing for them. We need to have HSS funds unfrozen so that we can get boots back on the ground to get people into the houses that they need. Encampments are not safe for the people who live in them or the people who live around them. They don't understand that the violence that comes from these encampments, including murder, has really impacted our neighborhood. Fentanyl epidemics. Getting our MPD up to the current staffing numbers that it's needed. We're still at half the capacity that we need to really be able to make sure our neighborhoods is safe for walkers, for bikers, for people who drive. We can't have businesses closing left and right because all they ask for is public safety. And we have not prioritized that in this neighborhood. If we did, 4 years from now, we will see a difference in this neighborhood with me elected. We have not seen that from our current incumbent.
Thank
They've
you.
had enough time.
Thank you. Candidate Chumtai, you are next.
Thank you. Every single person in our city, in our ward, and in our neighborhoods deserves to feel safe where they are living, where they are working, where they are playing. Today, we know that half of all calls that go to MPD can be answered by an alternative responder. Today, we know that officer overwork and burnout is one of the largest risks to officers and the public. Today, we know that there are thousands of victims and loved ones seeking justice and answers for cases that have gone unsolved for far too long. I want to build a city like all of you do, where we know when we call 911, when we need help, the right person with the right tools is going to show up. I want to build a city where when we are victims of crimes, that perpetrators are held to account. That's why I have worked tirelessly to fund work that is informed by these facts. This data-informed approach has led me to champion increasing funding for behavioral crisis response and expanding a comprehensive safety ecosystem and including safety ambassadors as a part of Uptown's future. It's why I funded additional civilian investigators and domestic violence navigators and crime prevention specialists for this community. I want to continue to work with you so that I hear less about how our public safety ecosystem has failed you and more about how it's working for you.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes.
Yeah, so the main thing in Uptown, like I said, I lived here for 25 years. And I remember when I first moved here, I walked around the streets and I felt safe because we had police officers walking up and down the street as well. We had beat cops. We had crime prevention groups walking around Uptown to make us feel safe. And so what we need to do to make our streets safer and cleaner, we need to partner with MPD. We don't need to alienate. We don't need to defund the police. We need to rebuild our relationship with them so they can come back to our community. And like she said, we do need to hire more cops so they can offer us more protection. You know, and as I was saying before, crime in this city, in Uptown, is not just at the homeless camp. It's crime all around. It's crime in my building. It's crime when I walk down the street. Every morning I walk my dogs. There's some sort of crime going on, be it burglary, busting windows, there'd be broken in homes. It's not just in entrapment camps. So we can't just place all the crime based on homeless people. Crime happens everywhere in this war. So we have to address it all together, not just focus on homeless people. Yes, of course, there's crime there too, but you know what? There's people being murdered and robbed all over this war. And yes, we need our police here to protect us. So yes, we need to work with our police department. We need to bring them back to our street. We need them walking up down. We need to fund crime prevention group because they're still walking the streets up down Lake Street over on past 35W. Why can't they come here? I ran into one of the crime prevention group's leader. I said, why aren't you in Uptown anymore? He go, we got defunded. We have no more money. They say they didn't want us here. And he's like, well, what would you do? Would you come back if someone asked you to come back? He go, yes, if we had funding. And so that's how we can make crime safer, by working more with the police department.
Thank you. Our next question is also from the live audience. How do you envision the ideal relationship between police and city council? Candidate Grimes, you are first this time.
Yes, like I just mentioned, we need to improve our police department. We need to hire more police. We actually do. And I know Mayor Fry have some ideas on how to do that. But again, those are ideals. Nothing is coming to fruition. We need that today. We don't need it tomorrow. We need it today. We needed it yesterday. Like you said, I walk around Uptown or Whittier or Ward 10 every single day with my dogs. And do I feel safe? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. But it's really a shame that we can't figure out between our mayor and our city council how to make this work. It's not a simple thing that we can do, but we just all work together. We can, if we just try. Like I said, if our mayor just take a little bit more initiative, that'd be great. And also our city council say, hey, this is what we want, this is what people are asking for, this is what business owners are asking for, this is what the citizen and neighbors in this city is asking for. Why can't we get this done? So if I were elected city council, my main goal, I said that in my platform, is to make sure that our relationship with MPD between Ward 10 and the mayor office, just make sure it's cohesive and built and rebuilt so we can build that trust among our neighbors and our city council and everyone else that's involved.
Thank you. Candidate Millard, you are next.
I have personally developed relationships with our 5th precinct, from the inspector to the police chief to our park board police chief as well. And we cannot say the same about the incumbent. The incumbent has not developed any relationships with any police officers. Couldn't even say Jamal Mitchell's name. And we are looking at a city council person who voted to defund the police. And that is not what this neighborhood needs. You don't ask for what the black community needs and speak on our behalf when 70% of the black community asks to keep the police. So you're not speaking on our behalf, even though we are the ones being police brutalized. We are asking for good police, reform from the consent decree. We want diverse recruitment and hiring. We want good officers coming from our neighborhoods that they serve in, not from the suburbs and not from other cities and states. We have the talent here. And so I want to continue to develop those relationships with the police and also get the other council members who also voted to defund the police to get on board with why we need the police, but then also providing police alternatives as well. Because I don't believe officers need to answer every call. We do have alternatives that will work and have been working, like our community service officers, which we need to put more investment and funding into. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Chupta.
Thank you. My office, I've been the Ward 10 council member for the last 4 years. Throughout that time, every other week, my office meets with the 5th precinct inspector. We're actually on our 3rd one right now, throughout my time in office. So to me, the primary purpose of that regular collaboration and conversation is about reflecting back the issues that we're hearing from our community, whether it's problem areas and hotspots or really specific casework that's coming into our office about people who have been victimized by crime or their loved ones have. And then we get to work together on addressing those issues and keeping up to date, and being able to assess what additional resources are needed. I think that work is really important. You know, I think one of the most common misunderstandings in our city is about the relationship that exists between the city council and the police department. It certainly is not the role for the city council to be directing police operations. It is not our role to oversee recruitment and retention of police officers, and I know that's a frustrating thing to hear, but it is fact. It is fact. And within the confines of this job, I have continued to keep an open dialogue with the police, and I just want to address that the police department has in fact not been defunded.
Thank you.
And the police department budget
Thank you.
continues to grow every year. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Just a reminder, you have about 10 minutes to submit questions if you would like to do that. Our next question regards affordable housing. What role can or should the City Council play in regulating rents and protecting tenants' rights? Candidate Choktai, you are first.
I believe that housing is a human right, and like I said earlier, 80% of this community is made up of renters. I believe that every single person, regardless of where they live, what mistakes they've made in life, or anything else, deserves a safe, stable, dignified, and affordable place to call home. Right now, the council is working to pass an ordinance that increases oversight of the out-of-control slumlords who have abused tenants and left them in unlivable conditions for far too long. I'm so proud that we have passed policies to prevent homelessness by making unjust evictions harder, and banning AI price fixing of your rent so companies and landlords can't collude to price you out of your home for a profit. In the next term, I'm looking forward to passing rent stabilization, a rent stabilization policy, so that your rent can't be doubled and you can't be priced out of your neighborhood, and pairing that with a strong tenant opportunity to purchase policy with further eviction protections like just cause eviction protections, and making sure that we are doing every single thing we can to keep renters in the homes and in the communities that they love.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes, you're next.
Yes. So in Uptown, we do need fair rent, and the same as we need fair tax policies. We need to push for fair rent for one thing, for we can keep our property taxes a little bit lower. And our property taxes and our rent need to match what's going on in our community right now. Because right now, we don't really have much for example, I use myself. My rent costs me $2,000 a month, but when I walk out my front door, there's not a whole lot for me to do when I walk out my front door. So I have to resort to going to other neighborhoods just to buy a pair of shoes. And that's not really fair to anyone that lives in this community. So like I said, we need to make sure that our rents are going to match what is going on in our economy and in our community. And right now, we do have programs. I spoke to a landlord the other day. We do have programs. We have the 4D Affordable Housing Act. We have the LRC. We have the MPHA. All those programs are great, but what I've noticed from landlords that I'm talking to, they said for the little landlord, it doesn't work for the smaller landlords. The bigger companies like where I live, it works perfectly for them because they're a bigger company. But we need to make it accessible and easier for smaller landlords to have these programs work for them. And so, like I say, with the more that we can lower rents, the better that we can lessen that burden on taxpayers as well. So we need, again, we have to fill the empty buildings in Uptown. Again, that will lower our tax rates, that will lower our rent. Because like I said, every time you raise the taxes on a landlord, that money goes toward the renters. The renters' rent increases. We can't keep having that happen. And one thing we got to do is fix the infrastructure first, and then we can start deciding how we can get better initiatives to our landlords and our renters in Uptown.
Thank you. Candidate Millard.
The way that we keep things affordable is by building new inventory. We need to simplify the permitting process. We need to bring in city-approved plans so it makes it easier to build affordable dwelling units, as well as building on empty lots without the red tape. The way that we can also make things affordable is by supporting our small businesses and keeping them open, because they take a part of that tax burden off of us. Every time a business closes in this neighborhood, that tax gets put on you as a resident, and for me as a renter, that means that's an increase in my rent. And so in order for us to see that things are affordable, we have to be able to build. On top of that, we need to understand that the climate that we're in right now is changing by the day. Trump is initiating tariffs. It's getting harder and harder to maintain. And so we need to understand that that process will include more affordable housing, yes, but building is the way that we keep the market rate stable. And rent control, the best form of rent control, is a 30-year mortgage. And the way that we get there is because we don't understand that $500,000 is a lot of money for people to pay for a house. So we need to create more opportunities for affordable housing so that people can actually be a part of the American dream, have a part of generational wealth. My mother was a single mother, and she owned her own home, and I saw the benefits of that. And I want to see that for our neighborhood as well. We can't change our square footage, so we have to get creative with what we do have, and we have a lot of vacant storefronts and a lot of vacant spaces to be able to do that.
Thank you. All right, our next question, we've received quite a few of these before the forum around this topic. When an encampment arises or is dispersed, there are concerns about the safety of the neighborhood and surrounding businesses, as well as the safety of the people experiencing homelessness. How would you address encampments, as well as listening directly to those living in them to see what resources that they need? Candidate Millard, you are first.
This is a time that we need to partner with the county. The county has the resources and the funding to be able to help with the outreach that is needed for those in the encampments. As I mentioned earlier, encampments are not safe for the people living in them. Fentanyl dealers prey on those victims and make them into victims by enabling the substance abuse use, as well as understanding that there's prostitution, there's sex trafficking, the syringes and needles end up in the parks where our kids play, they end up at the businesses, and so we need to understand that the encampments are not safe, and we are trying to make them a permanent thing. Encampments in this neighborhood have become way too much of a norm. When I am in City Hall, it is going to be my intentional adamancy to remove these encampments in the most compassionate and humane way. It is sad to see 35W and Lake Street, 150 people gathering. Yesterday we drove down Blaisdell and Lake Street. It was sad to see so many people in an alleyway. There was trash, there were people high, they were in the streets, they were blocking the bike lanes so the bikers couldn't even get through. We have got to see that these people are human. We have been treating our animals at home better than we treat these people on the streets. And we have got to see that working with the county and working with the state with all of that money that was embezzled and scammed needs to get back into the hands of the people who actually need the services. And we can do that together, and I will partner with those to make sure that happens.
Thank you. Candidate Choktai, you are next.
Thank you. Every single person, every single one, regardless of the mistakes they've made in their life, where they come from, and how much money they make, is worthy of a safe and dignified and affordable place to call home. I think one thing we can all agree on is encampments are not the solution. They certainly are not what we would describe as dignified living. And the conditions in encampments oftentimes are far worse than the conditions in refugee camps in halfway across the world. I'm a product of childhood homelessness. I'm someone who's had an encampment in my literal backyard. And the reality of the world that we live in right now is when we don't have enough shelter beds, when we don't have enough affordable housing solutions, even though we are building them at a faster rate and pace than we ever have before, even when all of that is true, then people have to go somewhere, and that encampments become a part of the reality. Encampments are a source of a tremendous amount of pains for the people that are living in them and for the surrounding community. That's why we have to end this whack-a-mole approach. It's why we have to have a public health-centered approach to homelessness, one that ensures we have public health at the center and that we are helping people get into permanent housing.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes.
Yes. So as we know, drugs in our community is a challenge. In homelessness as well. So we just can't keep criminalizing people who are homeless. People who are homeless aren't homeless because they woke up this morning and said, oh, I'm going to be homeless, go out and use drugs. No, there are situations that got them to that point. We have to have compassion for those people. We have to find solutions that can work to make them safe when they do decide to get off the street and get off drugs. But one thing we cannot do, we cannot criminalize those people. As a person of color, I have, in one point in my life, been homeless and lived in my car. So I identify what's going on out on the streets. So we just can't keep, like Mayor Frykes, moving these encampment camps and putting up the fences. That's not solving the problem. That's a temporary Band-Aid to the problem. Like we said, like Aisha said, we need to find better solutions. We need to make safe houses a priority for some of these people. There's a family right now, a husband and wife and 2 kids living behind Uptown, behind a dumpster. So we just can't sit there and say, oh, encampment camps are bad. Yes, there's bad things happening there, but those people aren't there. Some of those people aren't there by choice. Those people are there because they lost their job. They're at home, they couldn't afford their rent. So we can't just say, oh, let's get rid of them and do this and do that and just make them out to be bad people. That's not the case. So like I said, we just need to use compassion when we talk about people who are homeless, because there's so many other things that we can do for them, like provide them mental health care. There's so many empty bills that we can provide them shelter as well.
Thank you. Our next question concerns immigration. How should the city prepare and respond when ICE or other federal agencies endanger the safety, dignity, and constitutional rights of our immigrant communities? Candidate Grimes, you are first.
Well, that's a loaded question. I don't agree with what's going on right now in our country with ICE. My family is part Latino as well, and we have faced ICE issues. So, sorry, there, I got a little emotional. It's not a place that anyone wants to be. It's not a day when every day I wake up, I look at my phone to make sure that my cousin or my aunt is still here. So I don't believe that I should come to Minneapolis, and I hope that we as a community can stop that action. But I know we can't, because Trump has, that's a really loaded question for me, and we'll have to pass on this question.
That's okay. Thank you. Candidate Millard.
I believe that we need to continue being a sanctuary city. And I am proud of the fact that we welcome the immigrant community to be a part of our city and our state. And understanding that, we need to be able to make sure that anytime the Minneapolis Police Department is used, it is used to protect us as the residents and not assist with ICE. And we also have seen what's happening in Chicago. The mayor in Chicago just signed an ordinance yesterday that said that anytime ICE comes in, they are not allowed to use any public property, which means you can't load up in our parking lots. You can't congregate in our parks. You can't go to our schools. And we need to have the same ordinance here in Minneapolis so that we can't stop what Trump is doing, but we do not have to assist. You can't use our public property. And I want to make sure that we maintain the sanctuary city and we have the resources. I don't know if you all got this piece of paper coming in. They were actually handing out information about immigration and ICE. So if you haven't had a chance to read this and understand your rights and understand your resources, then I would encourage you to do that. And if you've got any questions, we need to make sure that we have those resources available on our website, in our newsletters, in our emails, so that people know what to do when it happens. And City Council need to be working alongside with the mayor to provide a plan that's public for everyone. And I will make sure that when I'm in office that we know what our resources are.
Thank you. Candidate Chuktai.
Thank you. As is true for Ms. Grimes, this is an issue that's really personal for me. I'm someone who grew up in a mixed status household. I'm the product of the quote-unquote criminals this federal administration is targeting. And like all of you, I stand firmly with our immigrant communities, regardless of where they're coming from or how they got here. This out-of-control Trump administration is targeting our neighbors. They're coming to our communities with warrants, with their faces covered, concealing their badges, and disappearing our loved ones. It's not enough to say that we will not ask people their immigration status. That's what our current sanctuary city policy is. And it's why I'm authoring a strengthened separation policy with my colleagues right now. one that does not allow our city to collaborate with immigration enforcement in any way, whether it's done by ICE or HSI or any other one of the long list of agencies in our federal government. We're drafting a mandate around reporting so that requests from federal law enforcement to MPD or any other city department are not swept under the rug, but for those of you who show up on the ground and record those moments and bring them to our attention. We have to lead with transparency. Now is not the time to step back from our values. It's time to step up and to do more, to defend our neighbors who are under attack, because your local government should always be your first line of service and your last line of defense.
Thank you. All right, our next question is from the live audience. How will you strengthen the city's advisory committee structure, taking into account the input of the LGBTQ community, seniors, the disabled, and others for the future of Minneapolis? Candidate Choktai, you are first.
I think our city's advisory boards and commissions, which are made up of residents from every part of our city that help advise the city council and the mayor on policy issues, are so critical to robust policy making. I'm really proud, and I see a few faces in this room right now who serve as Ward 10's representatives on different advisory bodies. And I'm really proud to have gotten to work with our different representatives on advancing the issues that are important to our constituents. I think one of the most important things we can do to strengthen the current approach is, one, by compensating members who are volunteering their time and taking time away from families on top of their day-to-day jobs and their life commitments to volunteer their expertise to the city council and to the mayor and to city staff to strengthen our local policy making. Secondly, I think it's really important for us to have a strong culture of making sure that when people are leaving, they're going through a process of exit interviews. So we're really understanding why people are choosing to leave. Is it because they're disillusioned? Is it because the time they're meeting isn't working? Is it because they needed more training on really mundane things like Robert's rules in order for their experience to have been better? And I'm really excited to continue that work with all of you.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes.
Yes, so I believe that if we as a community, as I'm always going to start off it, we have to work together with our advisory board and with the mayor to make sure that, number one thing that I heard, to make sure we all have heard, and because we have a diverse community here, and one thing I heard when I was out collecting my signatures, the main concern that a lot of people had is that we aren't heard. No matter what we do, no matter who we write to, the mayor, it could be anyone on the council, not just Ward 10, it could be any council member, they're not being heard. And so we just need to strengthen that relationship that we have. We can't just get voted into office, no matter who we are, and then just sit there and do nothing about nothing. I know you guys all seen that recent video that came out that's circling around about how bad Minneapolis is and how declining it is. You know, okay, that's not a great video of the view of our city, but you know what? If we all, again, I'm going to always say that it's all come back to community. It's all come back to being together as one and working as one to rebuild, to reinvent, to reinvest in our community as one. And like I said, we can't do anything alone. The city council is only one person or a group of people, but we need everyone in this community to be a part of what the change is going to happen, that's going to be needed for Minneapolis going further.
Thank you. Candidate Millard.
We need good people. We need good people from this neighborhood to reflect our values and to reflect exactly what we need in this community. We have cherry-picked people for these advisories and these committees, and they are not serving everyone's best interests. And we need to make sure that we bring in our neighbors who have been in this community, who understand the people, who understand what we need, to really be a reflection of that. So this is actually my call out for people to get out and get involved. As a neighborhood organization and being a part of a neighborhood organization, what we have seen too far is a lot of people complain, but they don't stand up and they don't get involved. And so we need more good people who understand what this community needs and will be a good advocate for this community to come and get involved in these advisories and these committees. A lot of these seats sit open. They sit open for a very long time. And we need more good people to step up and get involved. And that's my call out to the community, because we need you.
Thank you. Our next question is also from the live audience. What are 2 specific things you will do in the next 4 years to address climate change and make our ward more resilient, climate adapted, and equitable? Candidate Millard, you are first.
This is one of my favorite questions. I want to make Lake Street into a green space. We are missing a lot of green spaces in our neighborhood, and I think Lake Street is a perfect opportunity to capitalize on. We understand that adding the street trees, it has been the best return on investment that we've seen, and I want to continue that on Lake Street. Trees in general help with the urban heat island effect, and they help mitigate emissions. And so it also just makes it prettier to just walk and bike and to drive down that area. When you go into an area and it looks inviting, it makes you want to revisit that area again. And we have, quote unquote, revitalized certain parts of this neighborhood, and we have forgotten about green space. Think about the pets, think about your kids, think about the people that you invite into the neighborhood. It makes the neighborhood more inviting. And so that is one part of the climate resilience. Also, I think we need to expand more on our Green Share program, which is offering rebates and 0% interest loans to be able to help with energy savings. As a renter, we could use more energy savings with some of the more grandfathered in buildings that we have as well. And those 2 things can really help mitigate a lot of the those issues, as well as being able to offer more mass transit. We're looking at more people to get back to where we were before 2020. More people were taking the bus, more people were biking, more people were walking, and we need to have a safe environment to be able to do that.
Thank you. Candidate Choktai.
Thank you. I am so proud that here in Ward 10, we have a legacy of always being on the forefront of addressing the climate crisis with the urgency that it deserves and building a resilient city for every single one of our neighbors. Since I've been elected, together we have raised funds from the largest polluters in our city to fund climate-focused infrastructure, to help weatherize every home, to expand our electric vehicle infrastructure, and to help weatherize homes, in particular in the communities that have consistently been left behind, and happen to also experience the worst impacts of climate change. In the next 4 years, I want to work to increase the annual funding that we have dedicated to that type of infrastructure resilience work, from the $10 million annually that we helped implement for the first time ever, up to $120 million per year, which is what we need. I am also excited to implement the city's transportation action plan, and make sure that people can get from place to place, and reduce our carbon emissions. On the other hand, my primary opponent here has publicly stated support for building a data center in Ward 10, which is something that would poison our water, it would overburden our grid, and would have devastating consequences on our local economy.
Thank you. Candidate Grimes.
Okay, let's get something straight here. We all know climate is an issue in Minneapolis. We have hotspots. So I disagree with turning our major corridors like Lake Street into a green space, because then you're going to start affecting businesses on that on that street. Now, right now we have in Hennepin County, we have development there, and there's green spaces there. There's a bike path there, and right now we have those businesses along that corridor in Hennepin County that are losing so much business. They're closing because of that greenway, or because of that bike route, because of that red bus lane. And now those red bus lanes are being used for speeding, disobeying traffic laws, going around traffic. So, okay, so I do agree we do need climate green spaces in Uptown, but there's other ways we do. We can expand our parks. We have a lot of abandoned buildings. There's an abandoned lot right next door to Leaning Tower Pizza that can be used for a green space. There's other places to put green spaces in our community besides wrecking our main corridors where we have made all our major businesses. So right now we have very little businesses left in Uptown. So we started wrecking the streets, especially on Lyndale starting their corridor project. We can't keep having businesses leave Uptown in exchange for a green space. Yes, green spaces are needed, but there's other locations to put a green space. Like for instance, like the fact that they want to tear up Lyndale right now. And there's nothing wrong with Lyndale. And there's been a lot of green space there too as well. But we got our parks. We can expand upon our parks, make our parks bigger, better, and put more resources toward our parks instead of toward our corridors, our major streets, and taking away from businesses.
Thank you. All right, I think we have time for one more question before we go to closing statements, but I'm actually going to slide in something different right before we do that. We're going to do a quick lightning round question. So basically, I'm going to ask the question. We're going to go boom, boom, boom. You say yes or no. Okay, sound good? Okay, the lightning round question is, and both of these are going to be related to business. So lightning round and then a regular question related to business. One way to create more walkability and support small businesses is to legalize local commercial use within our neighborhoods. Would you support rezoning to allow low-impact small businesses throughout Ward 10? Please respond only with a quick yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. That was easy enough. Then, the real question. What can the City Council do to support and retain small businesses who are struggling with city regulations, construction, and crime, especially along the commercial corridors like Uptown, Lyndale, Hennepin, and Lake Street? Candidate Grimes, you are first for this one.
Yes, so we do, we all know that we need to revive our retail entertainment core here in Minneapolis. And one thing that I propose is offering real initiatives to new businesses. You can offer businesses build outs. You can offer them a little bit more money to, by way of grants and loans to help them stand out. Because we all know, like, when a business open, no matter where you are in the country, 2 to 3 years they usually fail. So if we can offer those small businesses a way to survive a little bit longer by lowering their taxes, and working with their landlords who are giving them the ability to open up a business in that location, and also just make it easier for them to find all the programs that's out there right now. That I'm a small business owner, and I'm trying to open Uptown's first dog park, and it's hard for me because I can't find what I need to get financing. I have to search so hard, so it should be made easier. And another thing that I think we should also do is that I know Lydia here mentioned that they're going to bring 10 businesses at one time into the community. Well, that's going to take a lot of money, a lot of funding to do that, and we don't have the infrastructure right now to do that. We don't have the traffic right now to do that. So what we need to start small and slow and get people who want to open businesses here and work with them and offer them a real initiative to be a business owner here in Uptown.
Thank you. Candidate Millard.
Public safety is the main thing that businesses have asked for in order to be successful. They don't need help with their marketing. They don't need help with their overhead costs or how to run their operations. They just want to be given an environment to thrive in. And we have not done that. So businesses are not leaving because they can't afford the rent. The businesses are leaving because they don't feel safe in this neighborhood and they rather go to the suburbs. So we need to provide the environment for them to be successful. The second thing is I would like to champion the business improvement district that was actually talked about at 7 points. That is to actually pool together the money from business owners who put into a pot themselves, and they determine what they want to do with that money. One of the things that they talked about, which might help you with this dog park, is by giving 2 years free rent. And so we need to take a burden off of new entrepreneurs coming in by saturating an area and providing them the opportunity. Also, that provides clean streets and clean areas as well as greenery and flower pots. They can determine a lot of things to do with that money. And we have given the autonomy back to those businesses. We have a lot of empty vacant storefronts, and we have an initiative for some of those vacant storefronts to be subsidized by the city with the vibrancy urgency plan, but that is only 5 businesses. We have over 50 that have closed in this neighborhood. So we need to understand those odds, and we need to provide the opportunities for them to be successful. And right now, we don't have a city council who even views businesses as constituents. So we need to understand that they employ people in this neighborhood, they help keep people in this neighborhood, and we need to keep them in the neighborhood by supporting them.
Thank you. Candidate Choktai.
Yeah, Uptown is one of the most important corridors in our city. It's one of the largest commercial corridors in the 10th Ward, and I'm committed to continuing the work of investing in its growth and supporting local entrepreneurship. one of the things the mayor and I agree on is that Uptown, both as a community and as a commercial corridor, has faced immense hardship in the last 5 years, and that we are beginning to see this area come back after dedicated public and private revitalization efforts. So I want to talk to you about a couple of those initiatives with the time that I have. The first of those being the Vibrant Storefronts Initiative, which is helping us build our local public arts, which have historically been a part of how Uptown came to be one of the city's largest commercial corridors, and helping fill empty storefronts with artists and subsidizing rent for 2 years. One of the other things we're doing is by expanding the amount of technical assistance and making sure that a dedicated amount of the technical assistance that the city gives out that can support any business in our entire city, that a chunk of that is set aside for Uptown and Uptown alone. I actually think that continuing to dismiss the history of Uptown and how we got here, continuing to talk about our challenges only without any acknowledgement of the thousands of sacrifices people are making to help bring Uptown back is an oversight.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now it is time for closing statements. Candidates will have up to 1 minute for their closing statement. And candidate Millard, you are first.
Ward 10, it is time for new leadership. We have the leadership right now that has shown us what they are capable of, and we have the opportunity to change that. If we do not make a different decision about who we are putting in these seats, in the next 4 years, we will have the same results that we do today, if not worse. So we have people in this neighborhood who have an invested interest in this neighborhood who need to get activated. It is time for you to get out of your house. It is time for you to come door knock. It is time for us to take our neighborhood back. And we will do that together. And we have not seen the leadership that we need in this neighborhood with our current incumbent. So are we going to keep making the same decisions, expecting different results? Or are we going to make a change and understand exactly what they have brought to the table, and they cannot take us into the future, and I can? So construction is not something that the council person has taken care of. Hennepin and First Avenue are done.
Thank you. Candidate, please hold your applause until the end. Candidate Grimes.
So yes. So if I were elected for city council, my main thing right now is to make sure that my community understands that I'm here for them. Like I said before earlier when we started this, when I decided to get on the ballot, I was out walking the streets talking to business owners. I know business owners in this city because I've been here for 25 years. I know who owns vintage clothing. I know who owns Iron Door. I know those people personally. And they're telling me totally different things than what I'm hearing today. They're not closing, not closing down because of crime. They're closing down because they can't afford to stay in Uptown. They're closing down because of the infrastructure, because they don't want to deal with it, and we have to bring Uptown vibrancy back. Uptown wants vibrant, a place to be where people want to go out and have fun, do entertaining things. And right now we just have to work together to keep businesses Uptown, to make it vibrant, make it a place to be like it used to be. We can't, like I said, we can't forget how we got here, and we have to move forward from that. And I think the future for Uptown is having someone in the city council who understands our neighbors, like I do, the business owners personally, and that's what I bring to the table.
Thanks. Candidate Choktai.
Thank you all for being here today and for being so engaged. In these moments, especially with a hostile federal administration that has put a target on Minneapolis's back, it is more important than ever that we show up at the local level. I believe, like I did 5 years ago when I first ran for the city council, that local government is and always will be the first line of service and the last line of defense for every single one of our neighbors. And together, I am really proud proud of the work we have done to invest in our neighborhoods, in our community members, in a more comprehensive community safety ecosystem, in housing solutions that keep people in the neighborhoods and in the homes that they love, in building resilience to climate change. And that's work that we need to continue on together. I hope that I will earn your support. Election day is on November 4th. Early voting is open now. And I look forward to continuing to see you and engage with you. I'll see you at your doors, if not sooner.
Thank you. Please hold your applause. Thanks. On behalf of all the co-sponsors, I thank the candidates for being part of the democratic process by running for office and for being willing to serve our community. We hope this forum has helped you as voters make an informed decision with regard to the November 4th election. Remember that we use ranked choice voting for this election, where you vote for candidates in order of your preference, allowing you to rank your vote: first choice, second choice, and third choice. This method can allow your vote to count toward another candidate if your favorite candidate loses. If your first choice candidate is eliminated, your vote is moved to your second choice. To learn more about ranked choice voting, go to Minneapolis Elections and Voter Services website. And I believe there are also folks over there tabling if you would like to go and chat with them about it. A special thanks to Queermunity for the generous donation of this space and facilities. We also thank you, the audience, for your participation in this forum and the democratic process. Seriously, I think we got the most questions from this ward than we have and others. So, good job. Thank you. You can clap for yourselves, yes. We challenge you to think about what 3 things you can do to further civic dialogue about the issues and get your friends and neighbors to participate in this important election. Nonpartisan information about candidates and about voting is also available at vote411.org. Early voting for the general election begins Friday, September 19th, and ends Monday, November 3rd. A video recording of this forum will be available unedited for viewing on the League of Women Voters Minneapolis website, lwvmpls.org. Editing of this video is authorized only for official media reporting, and footage cannot be used in campaign publicity. The recording is the property of the League of Women Voters Minneapolis. At this point, you can, and I encourage you to, show your appreciation for the candidates by your applause. Thank you all for being here, and a meet and greet where you can address the candidates personally is starting now to my left. And please vote. Your vote is your voice and your power. Thank you.